What are we gonna do when we get back?
What are we gonna do when we get back?
I take a shower and hit the rack.
Take a shower and hit the rack.
Welcome to Charlie Mike. If you're a combat veteran with an entrepreneurial bug and want to know what highly successful combat veteranpreneurs are doing to transform their sacrifice and experience to create their visual reality, then this is dedicated to your inspiring and fulfilling future. And now your host, Dwayne Paro.
No way, gotta run, feet, lots of fun.
Invest in Yourself ebook is my free gift to you for listening to the show and becoming part of the CO Nation. To receive your free gift, please go to landmarklifecoaching.com. Thank you for joining us on this episode. There are so many veterans with the core strengths to become successful entrepreneurs and continue to make a huge positive impact on our country. Here we highlight the amazing successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Combat veterans for the purpose of this show are soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who have served the United States in wars, campaigns, and in theater on foreign soil or hostile waters. Our guest today is John Preston. John is currently a Pacific Records recording artist and full-time firefighter. As well, John is a former Marine Corps field wireman from running over 100 combat missions while in theater from 2000 to 2004, achieving the rank of sergeant in his 4 years of service. John began his music career while in Iraq, writing his song Good Good America, which became an overnight success and gave John his first shot at the music industry, signing a record deal upon his return from Iraq. John returned to the music industry in 2014, signing with Pacific Records and quickly releasing his first single, The IS War, in October of 2014. Since he has released many songs, which he has received many accolades for and have had a profound impact focused on calls to action for issues such as the stand against ISIS, PTS, and suicide. John's life took a turn of tragic irony when in January of 2016, John's own brother fell victim to post-traumatic stress and took his own life. The passing of his brother was enough to make him consider ending his career, but has instead fueled his hard work and passion, and his new single, Superman Falls, is set to release in January of 2017 on a compilation album titled Battlecry, Songs of America's Heroes. All right, John, well, welcome to the show, and thank you for being a guest.
Hey, what's going on, Dwayne? How are you?
Good. I'm excited to have you tell our loyal listeners all about your journey from a combat veteran to a successful entrepreneur. It's a little bit different journey than, a lot of the guests, mostly because you're an artist and you've been able to take a lot of your experience firsthand and create some amazing music as a result. So before we get into your entrepreneurial experience, could you give our audience an overview of your military experience?
So I joined the Marine Corps in 2000, pre 9/11. I from a family of Marines, my father, both my brothers. So for me, it was kind of an easy choice. I had no other choice in life. I remember once telling my brother I was going to go into the Air Force, and that was one of the biggest beatdowns I think I had put on me ever as a child, or as a teenager. So I went into the Marine Corps in 2000. I joined in communications. I joined as a wireman. Ended up with 2-7. Ended up with Golf Company working actually as their company radio operator and their wireman for probably 2.5 years, my first 2.5 years in. From there, went and worked at Base Telephone for about 6 months for a nice cush job. And then all of our NCOs were up there. We were on a FAP, and we were actually contacted and asked if we wanted to come back and go to Iraq with the unit. So we all volunteered to go. I ended up running the mission squad for 2-7. So for my entire stint there, I was an infantry squad leader running a bunch of pogues as grunts. So we were outside the line. I don't know. It was pretty nonstop. We were a quick reaction force as well as running regular security element missions and things like that. So busy time in Iraq, and that's about it. I mean, I got out. I basically EAS straight out of that time.
Yeah, that's an interesting time to be in for sure, and especially if that encompasses your entire military experience. That you were in theater for most of it. So I kind of stepping back to the original part of your story. It's kind of funny that you mentioned the Marines versus the Air Force, because part of my history, my grandfather was in the Army, my dad was a Marine, and I had actually all intentions of becoming a Marine. And then when I became a senior, I think it was partly because I was so small and scrawny. I thought, the Air Force might fit me better. And so I actually ended up enlisting in the Air Force. And, being 130 pounds soaking wet, I thought, I might fare better in that group.
That's funny because I literally, all the Preston boys are monsters. Like, I don't have a brother under 250, and I was 135 pounds, I think, at that point.
Oh,
just a tiny little dude,
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So the work you did in Iraq, obviously has had a significant impact on what you chose to do upon returning with your music career. Can you kind of give our listeners a little overview of how you then transitioned out and your path to what you were doing? Because obviously it started a little bit while you were in the military, creating one of the first songs, and then it just really took off from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that's happening now is happening because of then. Basically, I got out of the Corps. I was already kind of famous. I wrote a song in Iraq. We didn't in between basically missions that we were running there. My buddy Nick creates a video to this song "Good Good America." He cuts in stuff from our own unit and things we're doing. I mean, there's video of us going like on a patrol and I'm cussing and doing stuff. It's a good time. But so we created this video and the battalion showed it at a meeting, and the next thing we knew, we were talking to Los Angeles Times. Oh, wow. LA Times released it into the newspaper circuit. At that time, 2004, there was no YouTube, there was no anything. We had a website named johnpreston.us where you had to literally click on the file, download the file, then you could watch it. There was no streaming in 2004. So we do that, and boom, next thing you knew, I had an inbox full of messages from media outlets and anything else you could imagine, from record labels to people that just wanted to get behind us. It was incredible. Overnight, something that I never could have imagined possible had happened. So segueing forward, basically, I get back, I sign with a record label, we released a single, and that was it. I did a ton of media around the country then, talking about getting my message across. And my message at that point was, it's not the war you think we're fighting. And it was talking about the schools that we were opening and about the actual Iraqi people and how happy they were we were there then. So it definitely had its purpose. And years later, I'm working with all the same people that I was working with then. So its purpose hasn't ended, to say the least.
Yeah, that's so. Before you in the military, though, you must have known you had a natural ability to sing, and you had done things prior to that, or?
I knew I could do what I could do. When I was a kid, I was super shy, and I came from a world like the town in Kentucky. It wasn't cool to sing or play guitar or do anything like that. It was kind of it was cooler to be like a manly man and even as a teenager, drink and party and just go after women. Yeah. Right. So, and you didn't utilize playing guitar to go after women. That was what the dorky band guys did, Oh, so, yeah. I didn't play a lot. I started writing when I was probably 15 and I realized I could do that really well. So I was doing that. I had one friend in Kentucky that I was writing with, Good America. When I broke away from Kentucky and I went into the Marine Corps, I actually aggressively started writing music. I started finding people to play music with. Justin Heisey and Shane Roberts, who are both still in my band, played music with me in the Marine Corps. So we were already heading in that direction then because I was free. I was away from that you can't make it in this world attitude of growing up in a really small town in Kentucky. So once I broke free, I was much more aggressive, and I had known I was able to write and play since probably 15 years old, maybe 14.
Wow. Yeah, I'm always very envious of you guys and gals that have that natural talent, because I tried to pick up a guitar once and, tried to learn how to teach myself to play and stuff like that. And I probably didn't put enough ambition or, time behind it, but, it's always looks easier than than it actually is. And so,
yeah, it's weird. It was very God-given. I was never I could play guitar the first time I picked it up, and I years later found out I could play piano the first time I sat in front of it. It was very God given, and I've taken that and ran with that. The fact that I am given that because we wanted to get into the entrepreneurial stuff eventually. I don't need to hone my craft of playing music. I need to hone my craft of selling my product. So
right.
That's kind of where it went. Was I'm always good at writing. I'm always good at playing. I can get in a studio. I get everything in one cut, one take. It's really quick days. It's really easy days for the people engineering me. So that's less I need to worry about and work on and freak out about with that. Instead, I'm writing 200 people a night saying, hey, can you support us? Will you be part of this? Can you do this? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point, because a lot of people see the artist and they assume they got this huge team that's just marketing them and pushing everything to the limit behind them, and that the artist is just does what you see. And so that's a great point. Like any venture you get into as an entrepreneur, you've got to be able to network, you've got to be able to market and really self promote, because you can promote and market yourself better than anybody because you, and so in what you can offer. And so that's a great point for our listeners, that there's a lot of other skills even as an artist that you have to learn to be successful.
Nobody tells your story like you. I mean, it's that simple. Nobody can tell your story like you, and nobody wants what you want like you do. Of course, there's people that are supporting now. Here I am, 3 years into this, and I've actually built a good team around me. I still do most of my work.
Right.
Yeah, you and I are talking because I reached out to you.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it's gone. Yes, great. If my PR agency brings in, a TV show or brings in something, an article written, if a PR agent gets me radio, that's great. But I know no matter what, I'll have at least one to their one, if not two to their one every time.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I've even found that in growing my coaching practice. I have other people that'll kind of promote my stuff on the side, but they don't have the same passion and they can't deliver the message the same way, and so it doesn't have the same effect. And so it's nice that they do it, but because it does get word spread. But yeah, I agree. When people hear the passion that you have for whatever you're doing, that's a huge selling point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when people see your work and the way you're working, when you're putting in that work, when you're grinding, and sometimes it feels like there's no end to it, it's being noticed. It's absolutely being noticed. My label just told me about a week ago, we were on the phone talking about something that I hooked up that it should be a really big deal coming up soon. And I was talking to them about it, and they're like, if we had any other artist on our label that pulled in like half the amount of press that you pulled in, and I was like, they don't want it. They're looking at you, asking for you to do the work. I did that when I first signed. I learned that wasn't the way to do it. Right. Yeah, I looked at them and said, well, why aren't you selling me? And I realized I needed to sell myself, and through frustration and through a lot of failure, I learned it's time to get out there and grind. So yeah, that's kind of what it's been nonstop. It's just grind, but it's paying off in mass amounts now.
That's good, because there's that point, where the things just kind of pivot and take that turn that you've been waiting for, and it's usually about the time you're like, okay, I don't think I can send one more email, make one more phone call.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of it is confidence too. I believe in The Secret. If you guys haven't read that, read it. Read The Alchemist first, then read The Secret. The Alchemist is a reason that I started this back. I had been out of music for 9 years. And The Secret is the reason that so many good things happen for me, because I stay positive. I believe it's possible. We'll get into my life and everything that's happened and why we're here and why the single is coming out. But I had to stay positive through that. And it really does make a difference. When you believe that things are coming, they come. Just make sure that you never put down the reins and say, well, I could have worked harder.
Right. Yeah. That is a great segue. I will actually right now we'll take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, I want John to get into that, as he referred to that life-changing moment that happened that has really had a huge impact on where he's going with his career and things like that. So we'll be back in just a minute. Landmark Life Coaching's vision is to be the nation's premier coaching partner for inspiring and empowering those in transition. They partner with courageous groundbreakers and transitioning veterans to create fulfilling and empowering futures that they desire. They have partnered with various entrepreneurs and transitioning veterans to leverage their core strengths and implement the framework for the future they always dreamed of. Could you or anyone you know benefit from a success partner to bring clarity to your future or their future? If so, please check out landmarklifecoaching.com for more information and charliemikepodcast.com for the Charlie Mike Podcast, showcasing the successes of combat veteranpreneurs. We are back talking with John Preston, who is a recording artist with Pacific Records. He was telling us before break, you really got to have a positive outlook, a positive approach on building your business and going after what you want. And you have to believe that the good things will come, and they will come. And so, John, I wanted to give you an opportunity to now kind of take us into that life-changing moment that happened and has really set the stage, for lack of a better word, no pun intended, for your future.
Hey, absolutely. So just to segue, to go a little further back before this happened, because I want to talk about staying positive through tragedy and everything else, because you can't control what happens that is not you. You can only control you. And around your life, no matter how hard you're working for something, there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be things that happen. You have to push through it. Back probably about a year and a half ago now, we were 3 days out from shooting our video Day to Night, which if you get a chance to go on YouTube and watch that video, or Facebook or wherever, that video is unbelievable. We shot at the Blue Cloud Movie Ranch, where they shot American Sniper and Iron Man. It was just incredible. That alone is its whole other story. Before I even knew where we were recording, I actually had a picture of that on my phone that I looked at every day and said, I'm going there. I'm going there. And then we ended up recording at that movie ranch. So you can create anything. You can manifest anything. Just believe in it. So we were getting ready to go out to shoot that video, and I got a phone call. My father had gone in for just a regular everyday endoscopy to scope and see what was going on with his stomach. They coded him on the table. He dies on the table. They resuscitate him. I'm flying to Kentucky now 2 days before the video shoot in LA. I'm leaving San Francisco to go to Kentucky. I get there. I had decided I wasn't going to go. I had the wife of the Marine that had died in combat that this song was about coming to LA. So I'm trying to cancel her flight, cancel my flight. My family makes a big deal out of me not going because Dad wanted me to go. So I go and I shoot the video for 2 days. Dad hasn't woke up yet. I get back to Kentucky. We wait 12 more days, 13 more days, and Dad never wakes up. We pull the plug. We lose my father. This is, at that point, a month and a half before Day to Night comes out. I didn't work, man. I didn't work. My father's death crushed me. It completely did. And I put in the effort to get the release out. I got some sponsors, I got things, but I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Even with that, I released number 89. Like we released in the top 100 alternative. Yeah, it was a short-lived thing because I hadn't set anything up to go on, because my mind was blown. Yeah, my heart was destroyed. I was just completely crushed, and this happening with my father affected every single one of us. There were three brothers that were all Marines. We were all, very strong-willed, very strong people, but we had our father as our backbone in life. 6 months after Dad's death, I'm getting ready to take stage in Sacramento. I get a phone call, and I find out my oldest brother, and literally the new self-proclaimed patriarch of the family, and our Superman, lost his battle with PTS, lost his battle with depression, and put a 40 cal in his mouth and took his own life. That was devastating. Not just for me, for my entire family, for the 4 children that he left behind. Devastating. Just I didn't believe it. I remember the phone call specifically and saying, Mike who shot himself? Who Mike? Yeah,
it's not
because
real.
I couldn't focus enough to realize that my older brother that I had looked up to my whole life, man, when we got out of when I got into high school, he got out of the Marine Corps. He lived down the street working as a cop. I literally spent half of my time of my life for those 4 years at his house, living with him on and off. He coached all of my little league teams, everything growing up. This man was invincible. And he took his own life. And that's what we had been fighting for the last 3 years of our career, or a year, 2 years, I think, at that point. Veteran suicide, head on, just charging against it. Post-traumatic stress, head on. I finally came out and openly, publicly admit my own post-traumatic stress and said, we can do things positive with this. And the whole time I'm traveling around the country and doing all this, stupid stuff that I call it now, I missed my brother's problems. I can make excuses. I can say we were all going through everything that happened with Dad or whatever, but regardless, I missed it from basically for a lot of years of my life, my best friend. And it struck something. When I lost Dad, I was broke, man. I told you that I was broke. When I lost Mike, I was angry. And an angry me is a different me. An angry me has nothing but drive and determination, and it needs to go. I want to go in a cage and throw some blows, and 3 days, I think, after Mike's death, or after his funeral, was my birthday, and I got a 22 with a semicolon tattooed on my wrist. And that was to symbolize the 22 Veterans a Day, and the semicolon is Project Semicolon, which does amazing work for suicide awareness. And I got that on my wrist, and I wrote something, on Facebook. I wrote basically this whole thing of, I'm going to stumble, I'm going to fall, but the world will know. I said that 3 days after his funeral. I didn't know how. I had no direction, nothing, but I said the world will know. And I came out of my funk 3 months later. I was funked out, man. And I came out of my funk 3 months later when I wrote an album. And I wrote an entire album, top to bottom, and was ready to get that going. Basically, all that around, what my original plan didn't happen. That's another thing about entrepreneurship. Anything you're doing doesn't mean that's what you're going to do. My original plan didn't happen. The label and the group that was funding me got into a clash. They fell apart. My project didn't work. I could have walked away and said, you know what? I don't even feel like doing this anymore. I lost my brother. I don't care. But I cared. My goal is for the world to know. We need to stop this. So I turned back on my drive, and I kept working. from the heavens, this album with the Battlecry Initiative fell out of nowhere. Guys like Scooter Brown Band, Rowdy Johnson, Ryan Weaver, just incredible artists on this. And I'm like, what are you guys doing with this?
Mm-hmm.
And they tell me we're going to print some CDs and sell them at a event. And I said, absolutely not. I will be taking over this now. So I called Pacific Records. I convinced them to do this album. 100% give back to Valkyrie Initiative. We as the artists are giving everything away. The label is giving everything away. We don't care. For me, I really don't care. I've never been about money. I don't care what I have in my pocket. I know that Gary Vee says never give everything away. Yeah, but I'll hustle enough that I'll make my money. I'll have mine regardless. I don't care what I make off this song. What I make off this song is the pride of knowing that I'm going to put it in the Billboard charts. Yeah, so we get to where we are because I hustled and I hustled and I hustled and I worked and I worked and I worked, and it was just madness because I'm just flying all over the place. I'm driving to San Diego for not even a full day stint to go shoot and film because we're getting ready to run the film out. We're recording the music. I'm working with a Grammy award-winning producer, which I'd never done before. It was amazing. Just flying around everywhere trying to figure out how this all is going to fall into place, and here we are now a week away from the actual release and pre-release, and it's looking like we're going to be top 10 and wow. On the iTunes rock charts, and then probably it will be somewhere in the top 200, maybe even in the top 25, which would be amazing. But it isn't for nothing. I've worked and got sponsorships with massive companies. Facebook is funding us right now. We have talks with some other big companies that I can't mention until they do their thing, but some really big companies that are getting behind us and pushing us. I never had that before. I have, and I hope someday you interview Daniel Ulrich of Grunt Style, but
July 19th.
Okay, Daniel is amazing. Daniel's been supporting me since day one. I called him during the time and day to night. I said, "Hey, guess what? I put your shirt on in my video. You wanna support me?"
Nice.
Slick, and that's what entrepreneurship is. Is saying, you got a big company. I'm going to get a lot of views. Let me slide this in here and see what happens.
Yeah.
And Daniel's been behind me ever since. And the guys at Grunt Style are constantly sending me things, writing stories, doing everything that I need to help me push forward. Now we're taking the companies within the veteran community like Grunt Style, and every single thing that I've done, I've utilized the veteran community. The big meetings with Pandora, CBS, with Facebook, these have all been veterans that I'm meeting. LinkedIn, all of these people are actual people that have served that want to help us because they believe in our cause. And that's how you get what you need. My heart has been broken. I'm crushed. I wake up every single day and I think about my brother, dude. And I wonder what I could have done on that day, what I could have done weeks prior. I talked to my sister-in-law the other day. It's never not going to be the why. We always have to think about the why, and it tears us apart as a family. My goal is to take this dude and let them visually see that. Whoever it is that might be on the edge and might be thinking about this, and they're not this weak, tattered, broken stigma. They're real people that live and function with you. Most of them are your go-to guy. They are my brother. They are the Superman of the family. And, you just have to take and let them realize what they're about to do. If you've contemplated suicide, man, go spend a day with your kids. Go spend a day with your kids and look at how they look at you. Look at how they adore you. Because I promise you that my 7-year-old nephew wakes up every day and he asks, "Where is Dad? Can I have Dad back? Is Dad coming home?" And he already knows what happened. You can't get that back, and you can't say, "I'm sorry." Divorce, whatever, any other thing that can happen in life, you can say, "I'm sorry." You do what he did, there's no sorry.
Yeah, he definitely has his hands all over this, though. I guarantee him and your dad are in heaven with their hands all over this, just smiling.
Yeah, I believe that 100%. The music was mine and my father's dream. We did this together, and
Yeah.
I think that's why that was so devastating to me, because that was my man. He literally guided me. If I couldn't think, and I was, how people get stuck in that hole, that rut, I called him and I talked to him for an hour, and I'd come out of it feeling fine. I had to figure out how to do that for myself, to find that, because literally 6 months later, the other person that might have been that person is gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
My dad's my dude, man. I think he talks to me through things all the time, and I feel like we still communicate. So yeah, I believe that 100% with you. They're definitely.
Yeah, you be aware of those signs. They become, when I had my grandfather pass, and he was like all into my military career. He thought it was the greatest thing. I was the second oldest of his grandchildren. And he was just, I'd go home to visit, and at the time I was stationed at the Pentagon, right? And he thought, that's like the greatest thing, right? And the pride that oozed out of him because of what I was doing in the military. So it gives me cold chills, because I can totally relate to that part. And he passed away from cancer not long after I was in the military, and I've had signs from him abundantly, but you have to be aware of them, right?
Yeah, you have to stay tuned in. Stay tuned in. Funny story, and I'll tell you really quick, because there's probably not much time. I do things, like I said, the picture for Day to Night, I actually had that picture on my phone way before, right? When I put my most recent picture on there, probably a year ago, 6 months, 7 months ago, I put a picture of the Billboard charts on my phone. When I selected that picture to actually save it to my phone as the background, it offered to airdrop my father. I knew then, you got to be in the same room with somebody to airdrop. That phone is in a drawer in Kentucky. I'm in California. So I knew then where I was going before I even knew what I was going to do. I knew that it was going to happen. And I think we're there. I'm 100% positive by probably the end of April or May, we're going to be in the Billboard charts. So it's a crazy road, man. And to anyone out there that's just starting, whether it's music or it's a business or whatever it is, you got to take what's brought to you, because it's going to suck. There's nothing easy about it. Steve Harvey says, when you jump off the cliff, before your parachute opens, I promise you'll bounce off the wall a few times. It's going to suck, but you got to keep driving, and you got to keep driving. I listen to Gary Vee. I watch his videos all the time, because he says things that make sense. Yeah, you think that you're going to have this wonderful life because you do a little bit of work and you just think you deserve it. I've met artists over my time that just think they deserve it because they're really good. And you know what? They are really good. They're much better than me. But they'll never be what I am because they don't know how to work. And
they don't have that. They don't have that experience and passion that drives you. You can't replace that. I mean, it will come out no matter what you do.
Yeah, my goal is to save lives, man. I want to punch everybody in the mouth that is my brother. No offense, dude, but if you're contemplating suicide, I want to blast you in the face, and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. This has been an absolutely amazing conversation. We could go on for quite a while, I'm sure. I'm absolutely honored to have met you and been able to get you on the show as a guest. We met through a kind of mutual meant to be through something I published for somebody I know, which had somebody in it that you knew. And so, it's been an honor, and I'm just want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this journey and be able to get this, help you get this message out, at least through my podcast, if nothing else. And
yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to give you an opportunity to have the last word here, and whatever information you want to give the listeners about how to get in contact with you or things they need to be on the lookout for as time passes here.
Yeah, so my thing, hit me on Facebook. I'm always there. I always respond to that. Facebook.com/John Preston Music. Get on there and watch our videos. Check it out. Watch this new video for Superman Falls. That actually took place. The first part of the shooting was me on the phone the night I found out about my brother, because we were filming that night for that show. Check it out. Dive in. You're gonna. I promise you're gonna love the music on this album. Go to iTunes right now and pre-order Battlecry Songs of America's Heroes. Or you can search John Preston Superman Falls, or you can just go on Facebook and click on the link and go straight there. Either way, we're getting into the charts, and every order that you put in right now is part of us getting there. You're part of helping the veteran community climb higher and higher. And that's it. Twitter, Instagram, John Preston USA on Twitter, and then Instagram, John Preston Music. I don't use those very much. I tweet. I think I tweet Gary Vee like once a week and say, "Hey, why haven't we talked yet?" But that's hustling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's about it. You know, just get out, buy the album, support the cause. Support the cause, get behind it, because there's a lot of people getting behind it that believe in this, and it's people that understand this isn't a stigma, this isn't a broken veteran, this isn't this picture that has been given to us by Hollywood or whatever. These are real people and living real lives, man, and we're just having trouble, and we need to get them out of the funk, because you won't know they're in the funk until it's too late. So that's about it, man. Just hit me up on Facebook. I message everyone back. And thanks for the support.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for being on the show, and most importantly, thank you for your service to our country.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Remember, loyal listeners, we are the home of the free because of the brave.
Thank you for tuning in to Charlie Mike Podcast with Dwayne Paro. Our objective is to bring successful veteranpreneurs to help inspire and provide insight into what helped them become successful, with the hopes you can take away various strategies you can implement in your entrepreneurial journey. Visit us on iTunes, leave us a rating and review, and let us know what you thought of the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Hoorah!